There are two women standing in the same grocery checkout line on a Tuesday afternoon. And if you had to guess which one was wealthy, you would almost certainly pick wrong. The first has a designer bag resting in the crook of her arm, sunglasses pushed up into freshly styled hair, a car in the lot outside that still smells like the dealership. She taps a credit card that earns points she never redeems. The second woman is wearing a fleece that has survived 4 winters, holding a canvas tote that has clearly been washed, checking the total against a number she already knew before she got in line. One of these women is drowning. One of them is untouchable. Stay with me, because by the end of this you will not only know which is which, you will see the exact habit that separated them, and it is so boring, so unremarkable, that almost nobody talks about it. Here is the question I want you to sit with before I answer anything. Why is it that the people who look the most secure are so often the ones one bad month away from collapse, while the people who look ordinary can absorb a job loss, a medical bill, a broken transmission, without their life shaking? It is not income. Both women, let's say, earn about the same. It is not luck. It is a single, quiet, almost invisible behavior repeated so many times that it stopped being a choice and became a fact of who she is. Most people never build it because it offers no applause. There is no photo of it. Nobody double taps a savings transfer. But that habit is the whole game. Read that again slowly. The whole game. And the woman in the fleece has been playing it, without fanfare, for years. Let me show you what's actually happening beneath the surface, because the appearances have it exactly backwards. The woman with the designer bag, call her Marissa, makes $92,000 a year. She feels, most months, like she is doing fine. Her checking account hovers somewhere between $400 and $1,100 depending on the week, and when it dips she tells herself it's temporary, a rough patch, a couple of expenses that stacked up. The car is $640 a month. The apartment stretches her, but it photographs beautifully. If you totaled everything she owns against everything she owes, the real number, the one that actually measures wealth, is somewhere south of zero. She has a negative net worth wearing a positive-looking life. The woman in the fleece, call her Deb, makes $89,000, slightly less, and in a boring high-yield account that pays her a little over 4% right now, plus a retirement account she has fed automatically since she was 26. She is sitting on just past $300,000. Same checkout line, same approximate paycheck. One of them could stop working for a year and be fine. The other could not stop working for a month. Now here is the part everyone misses. Deb did not get there by earning more, because she doesn't. She did not get there by picking brilliant stocks, because she couldn't tell you what she owns beyond the index one. She got there because of one automated transfer that fires the same day her paycheck lands, before she sees the money, before her brain gets a vote. It is the least dramatic financial act imaginable, and it made her untouchable. Let me give this thing its name, because once you can name it, you start to see it everywhere. I call it the invisible paycheck. Not the one your employer sends you, the one you send yourself, first, automatically, before the world gets its hands on your money. Most people pay themselves last. They pay the rent, the car, the subscriptions, the dinners, the impulse buys, and then, if there is anything limping across the finish line at the end of the month, that sad remainder is what they save. And there is almost never anything left, because spending expands to swallow whatever it's given. Here is how the invisible paycheck actually works, mechanically, because the mechanism is the magic. You decide on a number, say 15% of what you bring home. You set a transfer to move that money automatically, on payday, into a separate account that is annoying to touch. Not the checking account you swipe from, somewhere with a little friction, and then you forget it exists. That's the whole trick. You are not relying on willpower at the end of the month, when willpower is exhausted and the sales are loud. You made the decision once, in a calm moment, and then you removed yourself from the equation. The money is gone before temptation ever meets it. Deb's genius wasn't discipline. It was that she arranged her life so she would never have to be disciplined again. This isn't a new idea, and it isn't mine. It's one of the most quietly documented patterns in the entire study of wealth. Back in the 90s, two researchers named Thomas Stanley and William Denko spent years actually interviewing American millionaires, not the ones on television, the real ones, and published what they found in a book called The Millionaire Next Door. What they discovered embarrassed the whole culture. The typical millionaire didn't live in the flashy neighborhood. He lived in a modest house, drove a car that was a few years old, and had built his wealth through relentless, boring consistency rather than a high-wattage income. Stanley and Danko drew a now famous line between two types of people: under-accumulators of wealth and prodigious accumulators of wealth. The under-accumulators earned well and had little to show for it. The prodigious accumulators earned less, sometimes far less, and quietly stacked fortunes. The single biggest thing separating them wasn't salary. It was that the wealthy ones paid themselves first and had systematized the habit until it ran on autopilot. And the data keeps confirming it decade after decade. A large share of high earners in this country, people pulling well into six figures, report living paycheck to paycheck because lifestyle rose to meet income and the saving was always going to happen later. Later never files a transfer. Meanwhile, the average interest rate on a plain high-yield savings account in 2026 sits somewhere north of 4%, which means the money Deb set aside isn't just sitting there, it is being paid to wait. Marissa's money, by contrast, is being spent to look busy. Same dollars, opposite jobs. Now let me do the math that nobody does out loud, because this is where the invisible paycheck stops being a nice idea and becomes something that should genuinely change your Tuesday. Start small. Take a fairly ordinary gap between two people's habits, say $200 a month. That's a modest restaurant budget. It's a nicer car payment instead of a sensible one. It's a bundle of subscriptions you'd struggle to name if I asked. $200 feels almost too small to matter. Now automate it into the market instead, into a broad index fund earning a historical average of around 7% after inflation, and leave it completely alone for 30 years. That $200 a month becomes just under $240,000 from the restaurant budget, from the thing you would not have remembered spending. $250,000, quietly assembled out of the money that would have evaporated into ordinary Tuesdays. Now go bigger, because the small number is only the warm-up. Let's talk about the choice most people never think of as a choice. How much house or how much car they carry. Say two people earn the same, but one buys the version of the lifestyle that costs $600 a month more, the upgraded apartment, the nicer lease, the whole tier up. $600 a month. Over 30 years at that same 7%, that gap compounds into more than $700,000. Read that number again. $750,000, gone, not to a disaster, not to bad luck, but to a slightly nicer version of an ordinary life. That is the real price of the upgrade. It was never the monthly payment. The monthly payment was competing, silently, with your freedom, and freedom kept losing. That is the reframe I need you to internalize. Every upgrade isn't priced against the cheaper option. It's priced against the future version of you who is free. When Marissa chose the $640 car, she wasn't choosing it over a $300 car. She was choosing it over roughly $800,000 future dollars and the years of freedom they represent. She just never saw the invoice, because that invoice arrives 30 years late. And this is not a story about a few undisciplined people making bad choices. This is systemic, and the numbers in 2026 are staggering. A huge portion of American adults, by many surveys well over half, could not comfortably cover an unexpected $1,000 expense from savings. Not because they don't earn it across a year, but because it never got intercepted before it disappeared. Consumer debt sits at record highs. Credit card balances have pushed past $1 trillion nationally. Buy now, pay later has quietly wormed its way into ordinary grocery runs, so people are now financing burritos across 4 installments. There's a name floating around for the feeling underneath all of this: money dysmorphia. The sense of being broke while looking fine, or the sense of being behind no matter what the account actually says. A whole generation is performing a level of wealth it does not possess, and financing the performance at interest. Think about that for a second. We have built a culture where it is completely normal to look rich and be broke, and deeply abnormal, almost suspicious, to look ordinary and be secure. Deb, in her 4-year-old fleece, is the strange one. Marissa is the norm. That is how upside down it has gotten. Let me show you a few real shapes this takes, because the pattern hides inside specific lives. Consider Andre, 34, a software developer earning $130,000 a year, genuinely good money. Andre feels broke, constantly, and it baffles him. When you look at his accounts, the puzzle solves itself in about a minute. There's the $400 a month truck he doesn't take off pavement, the 12 streaming services he forgot he stacked, the apartment he took because it had a rooftop lounge he's used twice. Andre has never once automated a transfer to savings. He pays himself last, and last never arrives. His net worth, on a 6-figure salary, is $9,000. He earns like a prodigious accumulator and saves like nobody at all. The lesson in Andre isn't that he's foolish. It's that a big income with no invisible paycheck is just a bigger river running through a house with no bucket. Then there's Priya, 29, a nurse making $71,000, far less than Andre. But Priya set up a transfer the week she started her job, 12%, straight into a retirement account and a high-yield savings account, on autopilot, untouched. She's never earned 6 figures in her life. She has $94,000 saved and invested, and it climbs every single month whether she thinks about it or not. Priya could not tell you what the market did last week. She doesn't need to. Her wealth was never built on attention. It was built on absence, on money leaving before she could reach it. Consider Marcus and Tanya, a married couple, both 52, who spent 25 years earning a combined $200,000 and looking, to everyone around them, extremely successful. The boat, the 2 nice trucks, the kitchen renovation. When Marcus got laid off at 52, they discovered the truth of their own life in about a week. $40,000 in retirement, a home leveraged to the ceiling, and a lifestyle that cost more per month than either of them could carry alone. They looked wealthy for 25 years. They were never even close. There was no invisible paycheck underneath the visible one, and when the visible one stopped, so did everything. And finally, quietly, there is Eleanor, 68, who worked her entire career as a school administrator and never once cracked a 6-figure salary. Eleanor paid herself first for 40 years, a small percentage, automatically, every single paycheck, into boring index funds she rarely checked. She retired with just over $1.1 million. Her former colleagues, several of whom out-earned her, are still working. Eleanor is untouchable, and she got there on a teacher-adjacent salary, using the single most unremarkable habit in personal finance, repeated for 4 decades until it built a fortress. Before we go further, if any of this is landing, take a second and subscribe, because this channel breaks down the real numbers behind wealth every single week, the boring, quiet mechanics nobody with something to sell wants you paying attention to. And stay with me, because the biggest point is the next one, the one that actually rewires how you see every rich-looking person you've ever envied. Here it is. Once you understand the invisible paycheck, your whole world inverts. You start walking through it seeing the truth underneath the appearances. That coworker with the immaculate new SUV and the vacations that fill your feed, you no longer feel behind next to him. You wonder, quietly, whether there's anything behind it at all, whether he's built a bucket or just widened the river. The friend who always picks the expensive restaurant, who always upgrades, who always has the newest thing, you stop reading that as success and start reading it, gently, as a question. And the plain ones, the fleece and tote ones, the people whose lives don't photograph, you start to see how many of them are quietly free. How many of them could walk away from a bad job tomorrow. How many of them sleep the deep, dreamless sleep of people who are not one transmission away from disaster. The rich-looking are so often the broke ones. The plain-looking are so often the free ones. And the single fork in the road between those two lives is whether the money got intercepted on its way in, or got chased, hopelessly, on its way out. That is the whole thing. That is what Deb knew and Marissa didn't. It was never about the paycheck they received. It was about the paycheck they sent themselves first. So how do you actually step off this treadmill, starting this week, without turning your life into a spreadsheet of misery? It's simpler than the industry wants you to believe. Start with one honest question you ask before any upgrade, any nicer version, any recurring cost. Is this worth more to me than the freedom it's competing with? Not, can I afford the monthly payment? Almost anyone can afford almost any monthly payment. That's the trap. The real question is whether this thing is worth more than the future it costs. Ask it once, honestly, and half your impulse purchases quietly die on the spot. Then, do the one thing that matters more than everything else combined. Automate your invisible paycheck. Pick a number, even 5% if that's what won't scare you. Then nudge it up over time, and set the transfer to fire on payday, before you see the money, into an account with a little friction. You are not trying to become disciplined. You are trying to never need discipline again. Set it once, in a calm moment, and let it run on the days you're tired, distracted, sad, celebrating. Every day your willpower would have failed, the system won't. Put the calm money somewhere that pays you to be patient, a high-yield savings account for your emergency cushion, currently earning north of 4%. So the money you're not touching is quietly earning while it waits. And for the long game, start in the safest, dullest corner there is, a broad, low-cost index fund that simply owns a little of everything. The boring index one Deb couldn't even name. You do not need to be clever. Clever is the enemy here. You need to be consistent and absent, and mute the feed. Not forever, not dramatically, but understand that a huge amount of what you think you want is just what you've been repeatedly shown by people performing a wealth they're financing. Every time you unfollow one performance, you buy back a little of your own judgment. The comparison is the fuel. Cut the fuel. Above all, hold on to this, because it matters more than any single tactic. Your position today is not your story. Your trajectory is. Someone with $800 and an automated transfer that fires every payday is in a radically better place than someone with $8,000 and a lifestyle bleeding out the sides. Velocity beats position. Where you're headed beats where you are. And the day you set up that first invisible paycheck is the day your trajectory quietly bends upward. whether or not anyone ever sees it. If you want the next piece of this, the actual foundations, how to think about building real financial literacy from the ground up, the order to do things in and why, watch the breakdown I'll point you to next. It's the natural continuation of everything we just covered, and it turns this one habit into a whole framework you can stand on. Consider it the next quiet step off the treadmill. Now go back to that grocery line with me, one last time, and look at the two women again. The one with the designer bag and the dealership fresh car, tapping the card that earns points she'll never redeem. You see her differently now, don't you? You see the $400 checking balance behind the $1,100 outfit. You see the negative net worth wearing a positive-looking life. You see the river with no bucket, and the woman in the 4-year-old fleece, checking a total she already knew. Canvas tote worn soft from washing. You see her clearly now too. You see the $300,000 quietly standing behind her. You see the automated transfer that has fired, faithfully, every payday for years, building something no one in that store will ever notice. You see a woman who could lose her job on the way home and be, fundamentally, fine. Same line, same paycheck, opposite lives. And the only thing that ever separated them was a single boring habit that made no sound, drew no eyes, earned no applause, and quietly made her untouchable. The money you never see is the money that sets you free.